brought up two children. You've gone through pregnancy as fruitarian and birth and
Yes.
bringing up children. First of all, pregnancy. How was that? Did your diet change any? Was it easy or difficult pregnancy?
Pregnancies were great. I loved them. It were really, really, beautiful time. Felt really healthy, and my diet changed with my second pregnancy in that I got a taste for more savoury fruits. So I ate more avocados, more sweet peppers, more cucumbers than I normally do. But apart from that, no, not really. I still enjoyed my sweet fruit, but I did up my intake of the savoury fruits. Wasn't sick at all with either of the pregnancies, just felt very well, had lots of energy. With my first pregnancy I worked till I was 7 months pregnant, and then with my second pregnancy till I was 8 months pregnant. So I had plenty of energy, didn't put on too much weight with both pregnancies, just 10 kilos, so that's about 22 pounds. So just baby weight really.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, I think, when they get pregnant they have issues with putting weight on all over, but I think when you're on a fruit diet you don't put on any excess weight the really good thing about the second pregnancy was, with the first pregnancy I was in transition, as I said earlier, so I was still eating some cooked foods, and it took quite a while for me to lose the weight I put on with the pregnancy, and also it took a long time for my stomach to go flat again. So with the second pregnancy I was thinking I'm going to have this stomach for a while, and amazingly the day after I gave birth my stomach was flat.
Wow.
And I got a picture taken of it. I said, "You've got to take a picture of me," because I couldn't believe how my stomach had gone down so quickly. And yet I was 12 and a half years older, but I think the big difference was that I've been on the fruit diet for over 11 years.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a good thing for women, because women want to lose their baby weight and they want to get their stomachs flat. So if you're on a raw food diet and you can do that, it's a huge bonus.
Absolutely. Yeah. And how was it bringing up your children then as on a fruitarian diet? How was it for them? Were their health wise? Did they grow properly? Their mental function, etc. How was all that?
Very, very healthy children, and I think all parents really, they want their children to be happy and they want their children to be healthy. That's the most you can really ask for, and they've both been very healthy and happy children. None of the childhood illnesses, they haven't had, neither of them had measles, mumps, chicken pox, anything like that, despite coming into contact with a lot of other children with those childhood diseases, because really you think, well, you want your kids to have them when they're young, because it's supposed to be, less intense if they have the illnesses when they're younger. But neither of them ever got anything, despite sort of, sharing time with kids that had these illnesses, they never got them.
Right.
So their health's been very good. The growth is different, and I would say this, that children on a fruitarian diet have a different growth pattern. They develop physically, I'm not saying mentally, but physically they develop differently. And I see this is because growth is not just determined by diet, it's determined by hormones. It's our endocrine system that determines the rate at which we grow. And a child on a fruitarian diet or a raw vegan diet is going to have a very different endocrine system. It's going to function very differently from a child that's having artificial hormones in meat and that's also having very processed food that's going to affect their own endocrine system. So a child will have a different growth rate, and I think as well they will mature physically slower. If we go back 100 years, the average age that people stopped growing 100 years ago was 25.
Oh, really?
And now it's 18. Also, the age at which girls started their periods was like 15, 16 on average, and now it's sort of 11, 10, 12 kind of age.
Yeah.
And when we look at the other mammals, what you see is that the longer a mammal takes to come into puberty and the longer it takes to finally reach its final growth size, the longer the lifespan. So I wonder, by our lifestyle, are we really shortening our lifespans because our children are coming into puberty a lot earlier and they're also ending their growth earlier?
Right.
So I think really fruitarian children aren't going to fit on your standard growth chart. It's based on kids fed formula milk and fed artificial hormones, and there's growth hormones in that food, processed foods which will affect the balance of their endocrine system. So my older boy, he grew physically slower, not mentally, but physically slower than his friends, but now he's taller than most of his friends.
Okay.
So I do think that eventually they will catch up, but I think there may be more how people were years ago when they didn't have processed food and they took longer to reach maturity. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing when you look at the actual lifespan relates to how long it takes to reach, you know, puberty and how long it takes before you finish growing.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to think that we may be shortening our lifespan because we, you know, our endocrine systems are so messed up.